Chapter 1, Part 2, The Internet.
Chapter 1, Essential Outcomes. Students communicate, collaborate, create, and apply critical thinking skills through project-based learning by A. Constructing, computing, and designing a professional portfolio. B. Empowering and challenging each other to create unique designs. C. Applying knowledge regarding the Internet, World Wide Web, browsers, operating systems, and websites. D. Being responsible web designers and digital citizens. E. Sharing their innovative designs via global networking. F. Linking keywords to project application.
So, is there a difference between the Internet and the World Wide Web? The answer is yes, there is a difference. The World Wide Web is an application that runs on the Internet. It is a system of linking resources such as documents, images, sounds, videos, and data files. The www application is stored on the Internet and is accessed through a browser. The Internet, on the other hand, is networked computers that are connected together by a wire. They are global networks supporting the www and many other types of applications. The Internet consists of many different local networks that are connected together by various hardware devices. Again, the Internet is a wire. Well, actually, it's lots of wires. Some parts of the wire send information using light. Light on would be 1, light off would be 0. Other parts of the wire use radio waves, short wave 1, long wave 0. The language the Internet uses is binary, zeros and ones, or what we call machine language. So the Internet is a vast network of wires connecting computers globally as long as these computers are connected to the Internet wires. What is a network? A network is considered a group of two or more computer systems that are linked together. If you look around our classroom, you will see that we have a network. To have a connection between billions of devices is really not scalable when you're talking about the Internet. That's why we have networks. We start off with simple networks. Thus, we need to talk about what we call the switch. The switch routes information from one place to another or between these computer machines. Each computer only needs one connection because all information will pass through the switch. Thus, all 5 of these computers that are all connected to this one switch can communicate with each other. The router. The switch is good for one room or one building, but once you get bigger than that, it has too many connections and it becomes too slow. Thus, they created the router. The router connects each simple network so they can communicate with each other. So, if we look at the diagrams below, we have 3 groups of networks. Let's say that each of these groups of computers are in different rooms. So we have 3 networks, 3 different rooms. How do we get these to communicate to each other? We do that by adding the router. If you notice now, the information flows from the first group of computers to the switch, which means they can communicate to each other. But once we add the router, the switch can also send that data from each of those 4 laptops to the router, which allows the router to disperse the information and let it flow to the other networks that are located in the other room. So the router transfers the information between all of the switches in all of the rooms. The router allows each network to communicate with each other by first going through the switch, then to the router, then to the other switches, and then back to the computer. When you have too many simple networks trying to carry on a conversation with each other, it becomes too much. Thus, you get a very, very slow network. So, the complex network was created. It is a vast network of routers that are on the internet that communicate with each other. These are router networks that expand the entire globe. These routers are connected to only a few other routers. So all these routers do not have to talk to each other. They just have to talk to a few. When the smaller networks want to connect to the internet, they choose one router to connect to, which is referred to as the Internet Service Provider, or ISP. So why the cloud? The cloud is just a symbol. It's not really a cloud when we talk about the internet. The internet is just a vast network of routers that are out in space. The internet connects the single networks through the routers that are provided by the ISP. In summary, the internet is a collection of global wires. The World Wide Web is an application that runs underneath the internet. The internet is networks of computer networks. The World Wide Web is connected by linking resources such as images, documents, videos. The internet has a network of wires that communicate through switches and routers to send and fetch data. The World Wide Web is an application that is run through a browser. We have just saw the difference between the internet and the World Wide Web. Our next step is to talk about how the internet actually communicates. Every computer on the internet gets an IP, or an Internet Protocol address, that is unique to their computer. The information on the internet is sent to and from these unique internet addresses. When we look at an IP address, we know that they are numerical and hard to remember, thus they are not really human friendly. Thus, they came up with domain names. Domain names use words, not numbers. Thus, we can align a nice, readable human name to the IP numerical address. Websites are hosted on servers. A server is a computer or computer program that manages access to a centralized service in the network. Servers sit at particular IP addresses and they listen for requests. We will talk more about this later. The server responds to the HTML/CSS codes that are making up the requested site. Please stop the video at this time. You are now to go to Google Classroom and watch the 5-minute video on the internet. Make sure you answer all of the questions given in the video. When you finish watching it, please return to this PowerPoint and continue on. At this point, please review the keywords given in PowerPoint 2A and 2B. After you have reviewed the keywords, then you are to take a partial quiz on Google Forms. You may access the quiz through a link given on Google Classroom. Congratulations, you have reached the end of Chapter 2. Please go back to the class website to find your next set of PowerPoints.